One of those really it's a historic day because there are lots of things in the news that could affect this country for years to come. And I'll give you the quick list, then we'll start digging into some of it. Of course, tonight a lot of folks anticipating the president's speech to the nation. He's asked the networks to set aside 20 minutes and to clear it out so he can address the country that way. It used to be sort of default when the president does that, the networks will kind of comply. We'll see, but it is being billed as an address about the Iranian situation. We don't know a lot of the details. The vibe seems to be they're going to talk about the path to end the current conflict. There's some insider reports that say he's going to announce we'll be wrapped up with all of our targets and everything that was our part of this thing in about 2 or 3 weeks. The markets tend to be up today on that optimism, and we'll continue to monitor anything that leaks out on it, of course, before the speech. That speech is tonight after we're off the air, so I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow. And could be some comments about NATO in there. NATO is ultimately fallen apart. It's been a long time since World War II. Europe has changed. Europe's not the same continent that it was. It's been overwhelmed by illegal immigration itself, and it's changed the nature of that continent and its politics, and they're not reliable anymore. So it could be that we're going to, at some point, form new alliances with more reliable nations in other regions of the world. It doesn't always have to be Europeans that are the best allies of this country. We'll see what he gets into. That ought to be fun and fascinating. And then, obviously, those of us that grew up, I guess you would say, in the space age, our coming of age was I was a little kid, but you had the moon missions when we were kids, and it was still capturing, even though we had kind of quit doing it by the time I was, I don't know, I guess I was about 7 or 8. Then the space shuttle program was a big part of my teen years. But we're going back toward the moon. We've got a group of astronauts, manned mission. By now, you've heard about Artemis, and they are heading out today to go further, actually, than humans have ever gone. They're going to, when they slingshot around the moon, they'll be further away from the Earth than any of the other previous missions. And I just had a countdown clock pop up on one of my emails, which is real easy for me to click over and see. We are 3 hours, 16 minutes, and 38 seconds away from the opening of the launch window. Doesn't mean they're going to launch at that exact time, but if things are on track, there's about a 2 hour launch window. I've been watching some of the preps today. Have you been seeing some of this, AJ? It's pretty dramatic.
Man, it's very dramatic. I'm looking at it right now, and yeah, so I'm looking at it, and you just said 3 hours, 17 minutes, and right now it's 17 seconds. And I'm like, man, you got to sit there for
Oh, I
that
know.
long.
They got to put the depends on now because they're in
Oh
the suit.
gosh, yeah, they can't move.
They got suited up a little while ago. Of course, AJ and I get suited up every day for the show.
Oh yeah,
We wear special gear and we do 4 hours. So, but
Yeah,
mine
you gotta stay
mine
in
has
this
a little
one.
zipper, so I can go to the bathroom. Yeah, are they in launch position? Is that what I'm looking at now? They're in the they're laying there on their backs upside down, getting ready to blast, or is that the camera? Just the way the camera looks?
No, they're in their positions right now as they're doing their final preparations
there
to
they are.
go ahead and get launched.
Strapped in, orange suits, helmets on, laying back in the chair, chilling for another 3 hours. Now, it's a sensitive mission, so if a cloud drifts over, they could scrap this whole thing this afternoon and just wait till tomorrow. I was listening to one of the scientists. Let me just geek out on this because I got some other stuff for you. I was listening to one of the scientists talk about why these windows are what they are. We do something in our business called back timing. What that means is we got to be done at the top of the hour. TV newscasts are a lot more tight that way as well. We're more freestyle. But anybody that understands back timing, you got a point at which you have to be done, and you build everything backwards from there. When I used to manage political campaigns, I would budget our money that way. Election day backwards. That way you got money at the end. It's a smart thing to do. But in terms of these blasts, I know this may be a weird comparison, but they know where they want to land and what day to come back. And to get to that spot, in other words, the Earth has to be turned and facing the rocket ship when it makes reentry in order to land on that spot on that day at that hour. They've got to back time the whole mission back to today. So if they miss a window today, that means if they were to get into space, they couldn't make the return trajectory into the same location based on the way the ship is outfitted and what it has available. if they don't time it. In the launch has to go in order for the end to go well. Is my simple way of putting it. I thought that was fascinating. And we have not sent. I forget which is the last. Now we did this the low Earth orbit. This is a distinction, and I think it's important. Now, I guess I would be remiss if I did not mention that Bezos' girlfriend and Katy Perry are also astronauts now, and they also went up on a roller coaster earlier this. Was that last year? So they're all the same. There's no difference.
Right.
Katy Perry is just as much an astronaut as these people today. No, I'm obviously being facetious. That was a joke. There's low Earth orbit where they actually go up, like in the space shuttle, the space station, and that's kind of where humans have been going. I distinctly remember the Challenger explosion, the Columbia situation. I got to see that. You ever seen one of these up close? I've never seen a rocket launch, but I did get to see the Columbia up close when I was a kid. They used to fly it around the country on the back of a big, I think a 747. And one day we're driving through Atlanta, going past the Atlanta airport, and it goes right over the interstate.
Yeah.
On the back of that plane. And my dad, being my dad, that was back when you could just drive up to the airport before the terrorists took over. And we drove into, he said, we got to go look at it. So we drove into the Atlanta airport, drove around and around until we found it on the tarmac where it had landed. And we pulled right up to the fence, and so did a bunch of other people. AJ, I was standing there, probably 12, 13 years old, looking through the fence at the Columbia. It had just gotten back from space. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Like we were standing almost right under it.
Right. You
So
don't
I got to
realize
see it
how
up close.
big those things are either.
Oh, it's
too.
massive.
Even though they have that little tiny capsule that they're in.
Yeah.
But that ship is just a massive feat. But I do have to say, one of the astronauts is actually a frat brother of mine.
Is this the brother?
I'll be the only brother.
Come on,
on
man.
there.
Let's go. So,
Yes.
look, for as far as demographics, first black man to go into that far into space.
Yeah.
We've had African-American astronauts in sub-Earth. First woman. So we're doing some DEI astronauts today.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm
Ain't
joking.
no DI.
Now, these guys are all sharp. There's a Canadian in there. That's the worst part. No, there's a Canadian guy. There's an American guy. There's an American woman. And of course, tell me about your frat brother.
Well, I mean, you got brother Victor Glover, astronaut.
Where's he
and,
from?
Oh gosh, I think he's from California. I think that's where he's from. But yeah, he's a part of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity incorporated.
My last, my
Yes.
next question was going to be what fraternity? I forgot what it was.
Yes, Blue Phi.
Do y'all have a dance?
I mean, we got some strolls.
Because I mean, all my friends in college that were in black fraternities, they all taught me the step singing and the dances and stuff.
Yeah.
If that was back when you could racially appropriate somebody's culture and it was fun, like we'd do the dance. They'd let me do it with them.
I mean, well, you know, we can show you some things. You know, a thing or two.
So will he do it in space?
I mean, it'll be dope if he did a stroll.
I mean, do something like that. Just look. What's this? What do you yell at each other? If you saw another a fraternity brother across the airport, what's the?
I'll say either it depends on the level. I'll either say Blue Phi, and then they'll respond. Or
Blue Phi is what you'd say.
Yeah, Blue
and
Phi.
they'd understand that and
yeah.
respond back.
Yeah, or go.
All,
mob.
I mean, all fraternities do this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I just
Say-
don't know the lingo.
Yeah, say go mob, and they'll say go mob.
You think you'll do? Here's the question: we'll play outer space bingo.
Mm-hmm.
All the references. Will he do that?
You know what? He should.
He should. He should represent.
He's got to represent. He's probably got some type of
No, he doesn't.
paraphernalia on
Yeah.
that shows that he's part of one of the greatest organizations out there.
And then the lady, is she going to do anything ladylike? I mean, she going to let her hair go crazy like that other lady? Remember the space lady?
What's with you with these
My mouth needs some
microphones,
Viagra. This microphone needs some Cialis.
It's because of that coffee.
Yeah, that's what it was.
The microphone just
Scared
faded.
it. Maybe in my breath. Let me tighten this thing up. I try to put it at this weird angle because we don't have the proper mics in here. Because Kimberly is too cheap to buy things like mic arms, and so I have to move it out of this ridiculous shot in here as well.
Mm.
And when I do that, it doesn't want to stay put.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, you remember the lady with that? She just let her hair fly loose, and it went where?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, or the crazy lady astronaut who drove from Orlando to.
Oh, when it killed that, tried to kill that lady. Yeah. That was that love triangle, astronaut love triangle. Is she part of this?
The guy was like, "Man, I hope she stays in space."
Like, man, put her on the rocket. Put her on the rocket. Every guy's felt that way about somebody at some point. Put her on the tip of that rocket,
Yeah.
send her into low Earth orbit, send her to the moon. You think there's a guy in her life that's like, yes,
Yes. Send her to the dark side of the moon. Yes.
Pink Floyd. We kid. So it should be fun. We're going to try to stack the show. We're going to be optimistic, unless we get a report in the next 3 hours that it's not going to happen. And that could happen any minute. There could be, a seal, a thing, a sensor, something, the weather, and they could scrub the whole thing. But we'll try to go to it because it's supposed to be toward the end of our show in the 5 o'clock hour. So if we can, AJ, if we can time our breaks, I'll get all my busy work done. You get those breaks and they're done, and we'll just kind of go to it. It's a very short broadcast anyway, probably, but 5 or 10 minutes of audio of the thing blasting off. And prayers up that it blast off. Were you old enough to remember the Challenger?
I was. Oh, guys, when did it happen? I was just
I
born.
that
was in the 80s.
86.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, okay. Then I was 6 years old when that happened. So I vaguely remember it, but I do remember it because they kind of tend to bring that up every time we talk about like a launch, and that will freak me out. But like, can we not bring that part of the story of NASA going to space? Can we not bring up the Challenger?
You have to though, because that's it.
Not when I'm on.
It emphasizes the danger. Oh, you saying if you're sitting up there?
If I'm sitting up there, that's the last thing I want to see. Is that?
Well, they think about it. They probably thought about it nonstop. They know how dangerous it is.
Yeah.
I mean, even just going into low Earth is dangerous.
Yeah.
There's a line I think it's in Apollo 13, which, by the way, I got to meet the original Fred Hayes one time. He was going around signing posters after the movie came out. And I think that's the one that Tom Hanks played. And anyway, excellent movie. Still to this day, that movie holds up. But there's a line in there I never forgot where the country really wasn't paying attention to this Apollo mission because we had done a lot of successful ones. And so until there was danger, the country wasn't paying attention until they got stuck. And then suddenly everybody was tuning in to see if they would make it home. And one of the guys in the movie says, we made going to the moon look like taking out the garbage. And we did. Americans, all of us, I guess the planet gets routine about these things. And there are people still alive today that remember Sputnik and how that shocked the world, that the Soviets put a satellite over our heads and it flew right over. And that put a chill down the spine of the whole country, but it also made us go to work. But now we're back to human space flight, and the idea is Artemis is a precursor mission to eventually put people back on the moon. Setting foot, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Yeah. What else have we got today, AJ? That's a big story. If that was it, what if I already covered Trump for tonight. We covered that for tonight. These are later in the day things. I've still got to go through the hearings today over birthright citizenship. It's a little complex. It's a little not. I don't think the court seemed like they were willing to go Trump's way on this thing, even though Trump showed up also making history. I told y'all this is one of those history days. Showing up to hear an oral argument at the Supreme Court, it's amazing to me that hasn't happened. And then we, of course, we're back to space. I feel like it's the 80s all over again. We're in space, presidential address to the nation from the Oval Office. All this stuff that's how it used to be. We also have, and I'll go through some of the arguments and some of the stuff in a little bit without getting too bogged down. There's a story about the J-6 pipe bomber that's going to blow your minds. I'll tell you what's being reported in just a minute. It's just, I thought that story had been buried, and it never seemed right when they made that arrest, and now there's questions about it. We'll see if it makes any sense. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break here in just a second. Take some of your phone calls. We'll go ahead and get your phone calls in early today, too. Sometimes I got to rant, get some stuff off my chest, and then we get going on the phones. But today's one of those days we better do all that stuff early because, of course, we have all this heavy breaking news to go. We'll talk about that J6 case here in just a minute. Southern Skies Dermatology bringing you the show tonight, southernskiesdermatology.com. These are my folks to help you with potential skin cancer. I'm telling you, it is not enough. I'm not trying to cost you a doctor visit, but it is not enough to try to eyeball yourself and see if you think you have skin cancer. One, we have untrained eyes. Two, there's parts of us we can't see ourselves. Even in the mirror, you just can't really examine it. And you probably don't want anybody else to look at it. And so you need to trust the trained screeners at Southern Skies. This is all they do is find it, detect it, remove it. And then on the other side of that equation, they give a lot of people peace of mind when people come in freaked out, thinking they have something of great concern, and then you get that message from, oh no, that's fine, no big deal. I love it. It's southernskiesdermatology.com. Convenient locations all over the listening area, and of course, they are there to help you out too. New location coming on 280 later in the year. SouthernSkiesDermatology.com. SouthernSkiesDermatology.com. It's 224 at Leland Live, Talk 99.5, EcoView Windows and Doors, helping you out, man. If you got those single pane painted shut, leaky, nasty, janky windows. I mean, look, some people are worried about these projects because if you've got an older home, your home has character. You're trying to preserve that. I'm telling you, EcoView can replace them with modern, up to date, high tech windows that still fit the part. They look um, and match the architectural style of your home, and you'll love what they can do for you at EcoView. I love the way Becky Jackson said, "Look, I came in and decided I wanted to start from scratch." So she bought the place, wrecked the place, changed up the product line, fired everybody. She may not want me telling her business. She just says, I don't know if these people are good. I'm going to rehire the best people in the business." And they did. They went out and got the best trained installers. They back it with some of the best warranties. These are the best products. It's everything you want. People you can trust. And the feedback on them is when they get to what they'll give you a free estimate. They'll come out and check that for you. And then when they show up to do the job, they're in, they're out, they're done. It's amazing. Let them tighten you up and save you 35% on your heating and cooling bills at ecoviewwindows.com, ecoviewwindows.com, especially as we head into the thick of summer weather. All right, let me see if we can get some more stuff in here. It really is packed today. I guess I'll deal with the Supreme Court hearings today. I actually nerded out and listened to quite a bit of the arguments. They had the audio version of the arguments today. And so I was out really getting some exercise. I just turned it on in my ear and listened to them this morning. And it's always fascinating to hear the approach and the questions from all of the justices. And if you're just reading the tea leaves without being in the room, I have to say, it doesn't look like a majority ruling for Trump. What Trump has done is created an executive order ending birthright citizenship. And his administration is trying to defend that order. The ACLU and others have sued trying to keep birthright citizenship. And by now, many of you know what the issue is at hand. Right now, if you come to this country under any circumstances, you're passing through, you're on vacation, if you download a child onto American soil, we convey citizenship to that child. And that has been wrong since the day that these sections of the Constitution were ratified and put into law. And there have been plenty of challenges, but we've never faced a situation like this where our federal officials have abdicated their duty to enforce our border laws. So we've been inundated with people that are here illegally. And then we've got a commerce version of this where in today's arguments, we found out that there are 500 businesses alone in China that do nothing but specialize in what's called birthright citizenship, birthright tourism. They book a flight for a Chinese woman to come to America, generally around the West Coast, around San Francisco. They stay here long enough to have a baby. The kid's got citizenship. And then eventually they will use the baby to get other family members to have status here, to get other family members into the country. It's the 14th Amendment, and we talk about all the arguments in the case. Clarence Thomas had the clearest and most concise argument. They were all over the place in their arguments. And if I tried to put it into plain English, the Trump administration is arguing that you have to have domicile. You have to be, you have to have allegiance to this country and live here permanently, even if you're not here as a citizen, in order for your children to then become citizens. You can't just happen to be here with your feet on the soil. And that's rational. Not many other modernized countries in the world offer birthright citizenship for a reason. You got to have a better control over who's a citizen. Clarence Thomas said it clearly. The purpose of the 14th Amendment was to overturn and to fix the Dred Scott decision, which was an abomination, and to fix the issue for the offspring of freed slaves. So now you had these people that are slaves in this country, had been freed, then they have children. Are those children citizens? And of course they are. This is where their parents lived. Despite that former status, they should be conveyed all the rights of any other citizen that lives here. What they were also excluding at the time were some native, I guess you call them Native Americans, who wanted to be loyal to their tribal councils and not the United States. They were trying to be sovereign unto themselves. So what about their offspring? Are they citizens? You got to pick a country, basically. So just being here does not mean you have allegiance to this country. Now, despite the brilliance of Clarence Thomas, we had Ketanji Brown Jackson again opening her mouth and trying to make an analogy about stealing a wallet in Japan. It was one of the most ridiculous things that's ever been uttered in that court. I'll spare you the analysis unless y'all want it. We can talk about that in the next segment. Bottom of the hour, Leland Live. Stay tuned. Sometimes I look at the monitor and go, my hat's crooked. So basically, today in today's arguments about the 14th Amendment, Ketanji Brown Jackson says if you go to Japan and steal somebody's wallet, you now owe allegiance to Japan. She gave that example. She further said, if you ever heard the song, I'm Turning Japanese, you are actually Japanese. That was her. I'm not even oversimplifying it. She pretty much said, if you're in trouble with the law in another country, you're now owing allegiance to that country. I mean, the whole court just kind of sat there. This is a snappy little tune, isn't it? Do you know what the song's actually about?
I do know what the song's
Let's
actually
don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, Katanji. Thank you, Katanji. Yeah, she did that today. I listened to several of her arguments. She was the most vehement against it. And for a minute there, I thought, man, we ought to send her a Christmas fruitcake because she's helping destroy the case that the ACLU bought by being just n- she here. Let me put it this way: she does not understand the definition of the word allegiance. She just doesn't. It was as if it doesn't. What she was, I think, what I was trying to give her credit and say, what is she trying to say? I think she was trying to say if you are getting in trouble with the law, then you're subject to the laws of a country, right? If you go, when that Michael, what was his name? Michael Fay went to Singapore and did the graffiti. I was all for them whipping his ass. They caned him. That was public caning across his backside. A lot of Americans were aghast. I got a chance to travel there years later and told them, "Yeah, man, good for y'all." When it came up at dinner, they all looked at the floor like, "Oh no, we're so embarrassed." I was like, "No, do it again." If somebody comes to your laws, to your country and breaks your laws, you are subject to those laws. And I think she was trying to stretch her intellect to say, if the laws apply to you while you're there, then you're subject to the jurisdiction, which is what the Constitution says. And thus, if you're subject to the jurisdiction, then you can have citizenship. Which again, I'll try not to keep trying to make that example because I'm worse at it than even she was. The other dumb thing she said at one point to the solicitor was she said, "I noticed you're only speaking of the parents on the question of domicile. Y'all get domiciles, just your home where you live. So why are we not discussing the children themselves that are born as it relates to domicile?" And the solicitor just looked at her and said, "Well, it's widely understood that only adults can create a domicile. Little infants can't really set up a house." They can't set up shop and get a power bill and pay taxes. They're infants. That's the whole point. Anyway, if you listen to Amy Coney Barrett, I think she's leaning against the president. If you listen to the Chief Justice Roberts, he seems to be going the other way too. Those two have flaked out in the past. If you had to ask me, it's 5-4 the other way against Trump. Trump did a 10 and he got up and left when the hearing was over, when his portion of the hearings were over, and that was about all the drama this morning. But boy, it was a big deal. The motorcade, they had Apache helicopters and stuff flying over the president. The Capitol was on lockdown today. He only had to go a mile. But in these times, you got to do that kind of stuff. All right. So birthright citizenship, that was it. That's what happened. Oh, by the way, Storm Restoration bringing you the show today. That is Greg Nelson. He is the bro. They can come up there and get on your house and take care of business. If you think you need a roof inspection, it's pretty smart to every now and then just get that stuff checked out. They'll check it out for you. Sometimes you want to do that with your septic. You got maintenance on your house, especially if you think something's wrong. You don't need to be up there trying to figure it out. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't know what I was looking at. I could get on a ladder and go right up to the edge and go, yeah, that looks weird, but I'm not going to go mess with it. I stay off the roofs. His company does this. They will replace that whole thing and do it right so that all the warranties apply and everything can be covered. If you have an incident down the road, you need to make sure you have a proper installer. And then, of course, if you have an accident, man, you don't need to do it in reverse. Don't call your adjuster first. Because if there's a reason within the fine print of their contract with you that they don't have to cover whatever you consider damage, because you can't tell what's going on up there, they don't have to cover it. But if your professional has already been on your roof and can document the damages and the date and what might have caused it, well, then you've got something to present the insurance company to try to get your claim. And they'll work with Greg. He's worked with all of them. He also knows what's not covered and can save you some time of trying to file and just to get turned down. So let them help. They've got finance companies that can help with both the deductibles in that circumstance and, of course, an entire job. If you just, man, you got to come out of pocket and do a whole roof, let them help you with that too. It's Storm Restoration Roofing. Forever, I've told y'all about this phone number. You need to get it in your phone somewhere in case you need it in an emergency. And here we go. 205-542-3531. 205-542-3531. And now the unexpected story of the day. I started digging into this right before the show started. Still trying to figure out what is happening. But this is crazy. And we knew about Artemis today. We knew Trump was going to the hearing. We knew he had a speech. All that was built in to the news cycle today. Then out of nowhere comes a court filing in the case against the young man. You remember the autistic young little African American guy, the little geeky Urkel kind of guy that they claim is the pipe bomber?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the sequence. Steve Baker, investigative reporter for The Blaze, started digging into using facial recognition, walk pattern recognition, and other things to identify the pipe bomber that was caught on all those videos that never seemed to get arrested. They arrested mammals in their moo-moos out in Alaska with SWAT teams for even being present at the Capitol during J6, but they couldn't find the pipe bomber who left a dysfunctional yet legitimate pipe bomb, a couple of them near the Capitol on January 6th. So they just couldn't find them. Now, we all knew what that was about. The government was in on it. They were completely in on it. They lowered the security profile. They lured those people into the Capitol. They opened the doors. They fired rubber bullets into the crowd to stoke the crowd. They ginned up this crowd. They seeded the crowd with FBI informants, Antifa members, and others to get people ginned up. They went in there for 3 straight hours and pretended it was a civil war. We all saw it. We know good and damn well what happened. But the pipe bomb was one of the more alarming things, other than the poorly trained Capitol Police officer who shot Ashley Babbitt through a window and killed her. And for the record, for people that are just straight ignorant, because all you do is watch The View, no Capitol Police were killed that day, period, none. So not that it was a minor non-incident, it was an incident, but it was a lot of stagecraft, and we know it. We know it from all the other evidence. Now, let's fast forward. So all these years later, Steve Baker won't let it go. At one point, they arrested him, I think, for being present at the Capitol. So he's got a reason to keep digging, and he kept digging, and he produced the name of a Capitol police officer, a female, who is now a member of the CIA, and her name is Shawnee Kirkhoff. We had never heard that name before. I'd never heard of Shawnee, nor had I ever at that point seen her bad haircut. AJ, she looks like a 14-year-old boy. But she was on the Capitol Police Force during this time, and her physical profile looks a lot like the video that we all saw of that Capitol bomber limping around with the hoodie and completely disguised from the cameras. So Baker says this person was rewarded with a CIA job right after this op, where potentially he just alleges that this person was involved in the planting of that bomb. So, and then here's where really things got suspicious. Y'all remember the timeline? And out of nowhere, after all of this time where the FBI, and remember, Bongino was in on this. I'm just going to tell you, Bongino was at the FBI when this went down. After all the stuff, they made an arrest. And we thought, is it going to be this Shawnee Kirkhoff? And it was nothing like Shawnee Kirkhoff. I think his name was it Brian Cole? I'm trying to remember his name, looking in the document right now. So they go and arrest this kid, I believe he was up in Maryland, who didn't fit the profile, doesn't look anything stature-wise like the person we see on the camera. But of course, you know, when you're covered like that, that could be hard to tell with untrained eyes. But because of we believe he's autistic, he had not had any previous political views, but they suddenly busted this guy, and then the story went away on this other woman. Y'all ready for the cliffhanger now? Ready for the payoff after all that? So Shawnee Kirkhoff's name disappears from the news. Everybody's focused on this unlikely suspect. He lived in a nice home, lived with his family. He just it didn't make sense, but they did it. And then we get this. This kid's attorneys have been digging into some of the government files that have been turned over, and they found out that the FBI had this Shawnee Kirkhoff under surveillance already. Before Steve Baker broke that story, this Capitol Police officer, this female, had already been questioned, brought in, and they had her under surveillance as a suspect in the case. And here's the fun part. She failed a polygraph when asked the simple questions, did you place those pipe bombs that evening? She failed the polygraph. Now let's review. I actually used to know a polygraph expert, and I quizzed him all the time about how it works. Polygraphs are not foolproof, and they're not really conclusive. They're evidence, and police can use them as a tool to direct investigations, toward or away things, but they're not even conclusive in court. Some courts don't even admit them, depending on the case. But some do, and they'll have the examiner come in and establish their credentials, ask them about how the polygraph was conducted, and they always get challenged. So I guess what we're saying here is Shawnee Kirkhoff wasn't just some random person that Steve Baker inappropriately singled out in his reporting that had nothing to do with the case. And all you got to do is look at the evidence pattern of what we do know about the case. And that is the minute her name emerged, they suddenly went and arrested somebody else. I would submit to you, if Steve Baker had not outed this woman, they wouldn't have gone and arrested that kid. And it appears, if you're skeptical of the case, that the FBI is covering for a CIA operative that works for the CIA and was actually the pipe bomber. And this kid's being framed as a cover story to deflect the public's attention away from Shawnee Kirkhoff. Now, why would they do that? Because to admit that that was an inside job with the Capitol Police person being used, most likely by the CIA, to lay these pipe bombs around the Capitol that night, shows you that the whole thing was orchestrated. It was premeditated. Think with me. There's no way they could have recruited Shawnee Kirkhoff, provided her with the material and or allowed her the knowledge to assemble the bombs, or provided her with these little pipe bombs, and gave her an operational mission with probably the idea that she'd get accepted into the CIA after she pulled it off, and then they run cover for her, and she gets the job. So if they did all that prior to that day, then they knew what was going to go down. They were trying to frame Donald Trump supporters to deflect from the fact, if you want to go deeper, that the election was stolen. The whole reason people were pissed off and at that Capitol that day is because the election was stolen right in front of our eyes. We've been talking about it since that day. It's painfully obvious. It's mathematically provable. We now have mountains of other evidence. There's still investigations going on. And if this person actually did that pipe bomb and the government covered up to cover up a bigger story, so it's a cover-up of a cover-up of a cover-up. Are y'all listening to me? If we want to work our way backwards, if they're covering for Shawnee Kirkhoff, they're covering for the whole January 6th operation to set up the Trump administration, which is a cover-up of the stolen election. Where is my tinfoil hat, AJ? Where is my hat?
I got you.
I need my tinfoil hat right now. I'm on it. I used to wear one like cowboy style. I think I've been watching Peaky Blinders again. I'm going to make one of those little Peaky Blinders tinfoil hats. Peaky Blinders. Y'all, this is crazy. And with everything going on, I mean, suddenly this makes it into the news only because there's a case going on with this Bryant. The attorneys, his attorneys had the ability to look for exculpatory evidence, which is what a good attorney does. And they found this polygraph statement about the background being, or maybe they found the whole polygraph, and the fact that the person was concluded to have been lying in the polygraph, or maybe it's just amazing. So the polygraph took place last November, and she failed the polygraph, and then they went and arrested Doohead. Remember how, and I'm trying to scratch my memory, remember how Bongino was all fired up, and then suddenly he wasn't? Bongino was going around to his buddies, and I like him, but he was going around to his friends in the media saying, oh, something huge is about to happen. Then suddenly Bongino went, oh, nothing to see here. Patel's done that a couple times too. To be honest with you, so's Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi's been all over the place on the Epstein thing. Oh, she basically had a noose out in public ready to hang anybody that was connected to Epstein. Then suddenly, okay, case is closed. Everybody move on. Something's going on inside our government. It's dirty as hell. I think they're covering up. I think the CIA was involved with him too. Man, it's out of control, y'all. It is. The whole thing's out of control. And if we don't fix these things and hold people accountable the next 2.5 years, it's over. It may be over in the next half year if the midterms don't go right. You'll never get accountability on the level that we're attempting to get. Then better. You'll never have a better situation to have accountability than we have right now against the some of the dark forces in the federal government. And when that moves on, you're back to the regular, random, phony, bought off and paid for and intimidated politicians in both parties that 100% sell this country out on a regular basis. None of them are fighting for you. None of them. They're part of something bigger than themselves and they know it. Y'all, on the Artemis Day, don't be ruining Artemis Day with this bombshell. Put that out on a different day, man. We got Trump and a war announcement. We got the going to the moon. And we got things going on. Then they go, put this in the news cycle. I got to deal with this now. 545-9950, lead on live. Back in a minute. It's 2:53, lead on live talk 99.5. Man, what a news day. Axiom Tax Resolution Group, we got what? 13 days to file, 14 days to file. You better get your stuff together. If you're stressed out because here comes the bill and you got to do this filing, you're not even sure what to do right now. Y'all reach out to Axiom. This is why they are set up. They understand the complexity of the tax code. They understand the intimidation that comes when they start trying to threaten you and dig into your life and collect their money. With all the power of the federal government, the IRS will threaten to sick other agencies on you just to get their money. And so, but if you assert your rights and you know the programs to potentially help you settle, even if you owe the money, sometimes you don't, and they're trying to press you on something that you don't owe, and you need the straight story. But sometimes you do owe it. It's a liability that got past you, and it's just too much. Let Perry help. He'll get in there and dig in with his team. He's local, and that's one of my favorite parts. He is every bit the expert as anyone in this country. I would put him up against anyone in this country on the tax code and on these programs to help you settle. But he's right here with us, so y'all can meet with him face to face, not just random strangers through some reference service on the phone, but they can meet with you and help you get it worked out. And you're not going to get condescension from Perry over, even if you made a boneheaded decision on your taxes, which we're all capable of doing. Perry's not going to judge you. He wants to help you. It's 205tax.com. That's the website, 205tax.com. The phone number is 872-1100, Axiom Tax Resolution Group. So a couple of other notes about the bombing case, about the J6 case. I'm sitting here reading some other responses. I'm telling you, I had to double take. When this story came out, I have seen no fewer than probably 100 different stories today that are all part of April Fools. I mean, it's all, you can't believe almost any headline you see until you've got other sources and other people digging into it. So I had to pause. I saw this and went, oh, that didn't happen. Because all day long it's like, this team is going to build a new stadium and getting people all distracted with dumb stories. Or this coach just resigned. It's mainly, it seems it's going after the people that watch sports. I did see one meme today that said, April Fool's Day is canceled because of all the crap that's going on right now. Nobody believes any of that stuff. It's like, compared to reality, it ain't even funny. But based on this investigation, what we think happened, based on the timeline, is that the FBI went and interviewed this woman after Steve Baker took his evidence to them. I remember he went on some national shows, including Glenn Beck's show. He works loosely with the Beck organization. I guess you would say they've got a relationship. So Baker goes on his show to make the announcement of what he had found. And before he put the name out, he had gone to the FBI to get validation on his investigation. And so he presented to them the person. And he said everybody in the room was stunned. And apparently they did their due diligence to run out and round this person up and put him on a polygraph, which the FBI has teams of people that run the polygraph units and can get that done pretty quickly. This was in November of last year when all this stuff started being revealed. Then immediately they go and arrest this kid. That, again, nothing about him, and I'm just judging based on instinct and quite a bit of experience in seeing criminal cases come together and watching suspects. People will fool you in society, but nothing about this kid they arrested seems like a pipe bomber, and one that would be smart enough to elude one of the biggest all the biggest law enforcement and intelligence gathering agencies on planet Earth, who apparently had spent billions in resources under Joe Biden to get to the bottom of the J6 case, and they missed this autistic kid living at his mama's house in Maryland that flew under the radar. I mean, they used geo-tracking, they used banking records, they reverse engineered expenses, cell phone records, pings on cell phone towers, and found everybody that was part of that crowd and traced them all the way back to wherever they came from in the United States. And they missed this little, I hate to say innocent looking, but he does. He just looks like too big a nerd to be out secretly planting pipe bombs that his family wouldn't have known something about it. Hey, Jay, they blamed it on the black man.
Sorry, we're used to being blamed.
I know, but I was trying to pull the black card to see if I get some help from some brothers out there. Come on, y'all. This is crazy.
When in doubt, blame a black guy.
Speaking of black guys, I'm seeing they're doing the final preps. I think they're about to shut the door on the Artemis. How far are we away right now? What's the countdown? 2 hours and something? Let me pull my little handy email up. I got an email.
2 hours, 27 minutes, and 47 seconds.
Okay, got the countdown. Oh, I see it. It's up on the screen now. 2 hours and it says 2:25 on my screen. They need to make that graphic bigger. I'm squinting over here, even with my LASIK vision. Y'all, what a news day, and it keeps going. It's going to be going long after we're on the air today. We'll be covering all of it, taking your phone calls too. 545-9950. Lead them live, talk 995. Y'all get on back in here after the break.